This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our new Patreon campaign. If you get value from MacVoices, please consider helping support the show by visiting patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, you know one thing that MacVoices is absolutely all about. It's all about productivity. It's all about helping you do more with your Mac. And and your Apple Tech, all your Apple Tech, not just your Mac. That's the way we tend to think of being a little Mac-centric, but there's so much you can do with all your other devices as well. And that's why I'm always happy to talk to Bob, Dr. Mac LeVitus. Bob, welcome. It's great to see you again.
Hi, it's great to be here again.
We have a lot of stuff to talk about here, not the least of which, though, is the Working Smarter for Mac Users course that's now online.
It's everything now. It's a book, it's a course, it's a weekly newsletter. You can get on my Insider's newsletter list at the website. And I haven't missed a week yet in 4 weeks. I tried this before. Some of you may remember. I tried it last year, and when I got really, really busy, the newsletter just tanked. This time for sure, though. I'm really into it, and it's come out every week on time. So it comes out on Monday mornings, and you can sign up for free. It will always be free and no advertising. And every week there's tips and hints and links to stuff I found interesting and product reviews. And if you missed my column, if I thought it was a good one, I put a link to the column in there. And lots of working smarter tips, and try to lead off with a good, solid, anybody can do it productivity tip. So.
And it's funny, as we're recording this, I just read issue number 4 this morning, and I really like the idea that, because sometimes these newsletters, they try to pack so much stuff in, and you're not doing that. You're giving it to me in sort of bite-sized chunks that I can absorb and probably remember, as opposed to 25 things to make you better at, and then I'm not going to, if I'm lucky, I have to remember 2. So. Well,
the thing I find with the newsletter is I try to give you really 3 or 4 bite-sized chunks in each newsletter, and no more, and nothing long. If it's long, I try to give you a teaser, and if you're interested, there's a link and you can read the rest somewhere else. And I love that. When I get newsletters like that, I like that, because I'll save the ones that I want to read the rest of in my mailbox. And when I have time, I'll click the links and read them. So it's I struggle because they seem long to me. It's like I'd like them to be even shorter, but I do want to deliver value every week. So I don't know. I think the current length is probably about what they'll be.
Yeah, I think it's working really well. If I get a vote, which I probably don't, but
yeah,
keep
it
just about like it is, because it's very easy for me to get through and take something away, and I think that's half the battle of something like these newsletters.
Well, and I designed it myself, not that I'm a designer, but the idea of having white space between each chunk and the little 3 dots that divide them, give your eye a cue that, this thing that I'm about to read is only that long. And I think that's really helpful.
Agreed. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. It means that I'm going to have to commit only that much time to get through whatever that particular tip is.
And you can usually see the whole tip in one screenful. It's like I try not to make it so you have to scroll too much to read any one piece.
Right.
So, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I worry that I'm making them too long or too short, or, maybe they should have more items that are shorter or longer. Or I'm going to do a survey. I've got, I'm paying for survey software, because when you join the list, the first thing I do is ask you a bunch of questions about what you do and how you use your Mac and what you want to learn more of. So I'm paying for survey software. I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm going to do a newsletter survey in the newsletter next. If anybody wants to participate, longer articles, more articles about this, fewer articles about this. What do you like best? What do you like least? And, if they tell me that they like the advertising for my course, of course, that's the only advertising there is. If they like that the least, tough. It's free. It's free.
Yeah. Well, now I want to get to the Working Smarter for Mac users, but before we do, I want to make sure folks know that you have a keynote appearance coming up at Macstock in July.
Yes, I'm just getting excited about it. I was just telling somebody today that that'll start going in the newsletter next week or the week after because I'm excited. I've never been, and every year I've thought, how can I justify spending, $1,000 to be out of town for a few days and call it work? and I've never been able to justify it before. But this year, the stars lined up right. The theme of Macstock is productivity. And it just so happens I introduced a course this year called Working Smarter for Mac Users, which is all about productivity. So when we got to talking, the organizers asked me if I would be willing to come deliver a keynote. And I said, well, this year I think I can justify it. This is the right time for me to invest in gatherings. It's like I don't have Macworld anymore, so there's a hole in my budget where that used to be. And certainly Woodstock, Illinois can't be as expensive as San Francisco.
No, no, definitely not.
I am so excited. I hope everyone listening will go to the website and take advantage of the early bird thing, which I think is till March 31st. And then there's the almost early bird special for a few weeks after that. And after that, it'll be full price, which is cheap. It's like $200 for the whole weekend.
Yeah. And Mike Potter's been here to talk about Macstock, and we don't want to rehash all that. But at the end of the day, you get 2 great days of a lot of really great people talking about just productivity. That's going to be the focus. You get 2 meals. You have a party on Saturday night. I mean, it's
a game show.
A game show, yeah, during one of the breaks, yeah. There's a special screening of a documentary about the Newton. So it's just going to be an absolute great time. I'm going to be speaking there. Oh, shoot, I don't have the whole list, but David Ginsburg, Allison Sheridan is going to be.
Sheridan, Wally
Cherwinski is going to talk about video again. And I'm sorry to the speakers who I don't have it right here, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a great set of people. So please join us.
I'm excited because I get to go to all of the other talks. I'm only talking for 20 minutes and 45 minutes across 2 days. So, plus the keynote. But nobody else is teaching during the keynote, so I don't miss anything while I'm keynoting.
Right.
And basically, I'll have time to listen to everybody else's stuff, which I'm so excited about. I mean, these are all people that, like, I listen to their podcasts or I know them personally, and I know they've got great tips for me. And I want to hear what they're doing about productivity.
Yeah.
So I can put in the newsletter with credit to them, of course. But, good ideas don't care who they happen to. I've had a bunch of stuff in the newsletter that I credit to Mac Geek Gab because I hear it on Mac Geek Gab and I go, well, I knew that, but they triggered it, and I'm going to give them credit where credit's due.
Sure. So join Bob, join me, join all the other great people in Woodstock, Illinois in July. Macstock2018.com. There'll be links in the show notes, of course. And of course, if you're a MacVoices listener and viewer, you probably already signed up. I hope you have. If you haven't, get to it. So with that out of the way, now let's talk about Working Smarter for Mac Users, now the online course. Because this is taking it to another level, Bob, and I'm really intrigued as to how you structure this course, what I can expect to learn in it, and how it differs maybe from some of the other Working Smarter things that you've been doing.
Well, it's a lot like the book. It follows the book almost exactly. The book could be the textbook for the course, because the thing is, a lot of the things in the book are very visual and better seen than read. I can only do so much in a book to show you something, whereas with video, I can show it to you and talk at the same time and, have 10 times the impact in 2 minutes. So the videos are all very tight little lessons. Most of them are under 5 minutes, and none of them, I don't think, are over 10 minutes or even over 9 minutes. Very conscious decision, because I don't think most people can pay attention that long. So they're little chunks. And what's great is the platform I deliver it on is called Thinkific, but it works on everything. It's like wherever you are, if you have a web browser and a decent internet connection, you can watch a lesson and have a good experience. It works great on phones. I mean, you don't even have to download an app. Just go there in your browser, log in, and they're optimized for all different devices. So if you're on an iPad, what you see is optimized for iPad. It's great. I'm taking a bunch of classes from other people on Thinkific, and the experience of being a student is wonderful. Each class has its own little discussion pad or pod where you can leave a question. I get an email as soon as you post a question. So, if I'm not busy, you can expect an answer in an hour or two. You post a question. Later that day, I've answered it for everybody, because any student that takes that lesson then will see these things in the bulletin board. Really a nice learning experience. And I cover all three parts, what I call the three legs of working smarter. There's efficiency. That's doing what you do better, faster, or more elegantly. So that's improving your performance at the things you're already doing, like typing or snippets or macros for automating tasks that you repeat over and over again. Those are all efficiency part. And the second part, they call it time management, but that's a misnomer because you can't manage time. It's really task management or managing your efforts within time, or planning is what I call it, planning. So the thing is, time passes at a fixed rate, 1,440 minutes a day. I remind myself of this often because it keeps me out of the rabbit holes. And when you think about that, those minutes don't come back. If you lose them, if you're watching TV or something, well, then you didn't do any work. And so I constantly remind myself that I have a plan for today, and I'm going to do this much work. And if I just stick with it, I can finish at a reasonable hour. If I do my usual procrastinating and ADD bouncing from wall to wall, doing 10 things at once, I'll be here till midnight, and I still probably won't get it done. So the second part's all about having a good, solid plan, so that you make the best use of your time. And once you get used to it, it's easy. It takes 5 minutes every morning, and you're on track all day. I actually use, and you can download this for free, but I use a written printed sheet. I print them out, and then I fill them in by hand every morning. They're called Super Plan. Isn't that clever? I named it myself. I also made it myself. It's ugly, but it works. And every morning I write down what I'm doing during the hours of 7, let's say, to 6 p.m. And all of the tasks that need to be accomplished go on there. Then part 3 is all about procrastination. It's all about how to stay out of the rabbit hole. And that, it really isn't that hard, but you have to be hard on yourself. You have to be willing to pull yourself back when you do something wrong, like run down a rabbit hole while you're supposed to be working. And so, I talk about in the course, I talk about things that can block websites and can, make it so that you can't use your web browser for anything but sites you've approved in advance, or that you can't even launch your web browser. You can't go to social media sites. There are things like this for people who can't stop. But really, I think most intelligent people, if they set a timer for 25 minutes and say, all right, I'm going to put everything on Do Not Disturb for 25 minutes, and I'm going to focus and work. And I call it in the zone. When you get in the zone, you don't want to be interrupted, because it takes 15 to 30 minutes to get back to the zone. So if you can do 25 minutes of work without interruption in the zone, that's like an hour of work being interrupted and doing a million things at once. And if you get in the habit of setting up your day to do the important stuff earlier in the day and in 25-minute chunks, you'll find that you always get it done, and then you can do everything else. But if you try to do a little of everything else all day long, you end up at 6 o'clock going, oh my gosh, I still have 4 hours worth of stuff here. And the thing is, it's so easy to think you're busy. I spent a few minutes on Amazon.com looking at keyboards and mice that I don't need. But, mostly I worked. If you're at the keyboard on your computer, you feel like you're working, even if you're watching cat videos. So you got to train yourself. So that's the 3 parts: efficiency, planning, and procrastination. And I address all 3. And the thing that I found is you can have profound gains in any one of those 3 and really become more productive. But when you have all 3 of them going, it's like you become a raging thunder lizard of productivity. I'm going to have t-shirts made, Raging Thunder Lizard of Productivity. I work smarter. I'm a raging thunder lizard for productivity.
I agree with so much of what you said, and I think a lot of us that have thought about this have come to some of these conclusions. You do have to map it out. I know one thing that I struggle with from a productivity standpoint is when I'm going through my email, and one of my emails requires something that has to be done, and so you leave the email, you go to a web browser to do that, and then you find out that you didn't
You're
quite
down
get
the rabbit
back.
hole.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a non-productive rabbit hole. It's just that I didn't get through the 25 or 30 or 40 emails that I intended because I ended up doing something else that needed to be done, but I'm not even going to say that it shouldn't have been done first.
You've got to learn to prioritize on the fly. I call it triage, but when I'm going through my email, I'm making a decision in 1 second on what to do with it, and I use Sanebox, so I can defer an email for 4 hours. So that's a great thing. It's like I know that has to be done today, but I don't want it bothering me, and I want my inbox clean, so I'll defer it till 3 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock on my schedule, I'll say email 25 minutes or sometimes 50 minutes. If I know that I've got a couple of long responses to write, I'll map out 2 25-minute sections. But I can, move the stuff over and tell it to come back when it's time. And for me, that's it. Otherwise, I get hung up on mail for hours every day. Just going through it, thinking through responses, and, doing it right requires a couple hours a day if I'm going to be polite.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to be curt, if I'm not going to be abrupt and short. And so I break it up throughout the day. I do not open mail in between. Like my first mail, I walk in the office in the morning and I usually look through my mail as a triage step. If there's an emergency happening, I figure out where in the day I can handle it. I don't necessarily dive in and do it at 8 in the morning. But if it's something that needs to be handled, I wedge it into the schedule, and then I go through the rest of the email and defer it until either 11:30 or 4:30 or 3:30 or whatever in the afternoon. And those are my 2 mail times. Right before lunch, I clear my mailbox, and right before, at the end of the day, before I leave the office, I clear the mailbox. There's stuff that gets deferred till tomorrow because I don't feel like doing it today. But mostly, I look at it and go, can I handle this in 5 seconds or less? Delete. Yes. So I try to run a lean mailbox. I basically go on that inbox zero principle. I clear my mailbox. I use Sanebox to defer tasks until later. And I try to only do mail twice a day. I don't keep the mailbox open out of one eye. And I know I probably should now that I'm a solopreneur and, my clients and my students are contacting me, but I've found over time that nobody really minds that I only do mail at 11 and 3 or 11 and 4. I used to do it all day long, and people, they were used to getting an immediate response from me. If you wrote to me and you knew me and it was something interesting or important, I got back to you immediately. Nobody's noticed. I mean, I thought everybody'd be all over me. You used to answer me right away. No, because I think for normal people, the response time is a day. If you send somebody an email, for the most part, you expect a response by tomorrow, not today or not in an hour, not in 2 hours. And so by doing email just twice a day in these measured chunks, I've learned to prioritize which emails need the most time and deserve the most time, and then reallocate the rest. If there's too much for today, then tomorrow I'll schedule 3 emails for 25 minutes each and clear it out. But I can see that coming, and it doesn't have to be done this second. That's the big takeaway, is most stuff can wait a few hours until you're ready to do it rather than having it interrupt what you need to be doing now. And I keep prioritizing by what's important. So I pick 3 things in each day that are the most important, and I kind of focus on them. I make sure that they get done before anything else. And that helps a lot, too. It keeps me focused and keeps me from spending 20 minutes on an email to a student in the middle of the day when I should be writing or making ads or videos or lessons or something. So I try real hard. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's, I don't want to sound like I don't want to be responsive, but there's something to be said for training people that you are not not to expect something instantly from you. Now, if it's an emergency, well, if it's an emergency, that can pick up the phone. There are a lot of other communication channels, but that idea of responding to emails within 30 seconds. I mean, I've had plenty of people that call me. They'll call me on the phone and say, "Hey, did you get that email? I just sent it to you." Okay, so kind of why are you calling me? And if it was important enough, why are you cluttering my mailbox? Why didn't you just call me? It's funny how people have these expectations of how quick something is supposed to work, and if you start to set those expectations incorrectly, then when you need the time off, when you are at a conference or a meeting or something, and you just can't respond that quickly, then people say, "Well, gee, you used to get back to me right away." Well,
I was surprised to find very little resistance when I stopped being instantly available on email. Really, not even my family. It's like they got used to that I answer a few hours later. That nothing. If it's important, they'll call me. That's exactly right. They can call me, or they can text me and say it's urgent. I'll look at that. I see the little bubbles there. I don't look very often, but my family are all VIPs, so they have a different ringtone on my phone. If my phone is making noise, I can tell it's family. But for the most part, people haven't had a problem with it. And I think for most people who don't work in a structured office situation, you'll find that nobody notices. You don't even have to tell them. Just go to a 2-time-a-day email cycle and see if anybody even notices. You'll be a lot happier because you won't be spending 2 hours or 3 hours a day minced out in between doing real work, trying to handle your email. And I get a lot of email. I get several hundred pieces a day.
Yeah.
So,
Bob, any tips for handling managing all the channels that we have? I mean, okay, so we're talking about email, but there are phones. There's the phone. There's text. There's Slack. There's Facebook, Twitter, and those. And I'm not talking about those as social media channels as much as information channels, where I tend to have lists on my Twitter of things that, okay, these are things that I want to see the notifications happening, in case there's something really important going on. But sometimes you can end up with just so much information coming at you. Do you just go from one channel to the next, or do you try to manage those channels?
Well, first of all, I use an aggregator called HootSuite, so I can see a lot of that in one dashboard at once. So a couple times a day, I go to my HootSuite dashboard and I look for my name. I look for Working Smarter. I look for responses to anything I posted, comments to anything I posted. I can get my whole. It covers Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Google, even though nobody goes there, G plus or whatever it's called. And so, what's nice is I can see all of those streams at one time. I can see who mentioned me in which place. I can send messages from there. So I can send a tweet or I can post to Facebook from there. If somebody says something, I can add a comment right from that interface. So I spend about 25 minutes a day looking at Macstock in the channels, but I look at it all very efficiently in one window. I don't jump from site to site, and I try not to read anything that's not important or interesting to me. I don't get sucked down the New York Post headline rabbit hole. They always look good, but I know if I click it, I'll read the article, and then I'll probably click something else, and 15 minutes later, I'll be going, darn, I'm in the rabbit hole again.
Yeah. And there's so many sites now, I think, they're producing. A lot of them have always produced clickbait headlines. I see some sites that are going to remain nameless that now I think they're creating clickbait articles along with clickbait headlines, where the article doesn't really say anything useful, but it sucks you in.
I'm pretty sure I know a couple of sites that would fit that bill.
Yeah.
And I use a newsreader. I use NetNewsWire to scan about 3 sites, and I try to stay away from those clickbaity headlines because I know, oh, that sounds really clickbaity. I'm not clicking that because I know it's 15 minutes, it's like, oh, and then they'll have something else, the 10 best things in that category, and I'll want to know what those are.
Yep.
So I stay away from a lot of that. You have to kind of meter yourself. You have to say, I'm not going to click that. So when I'm in NetNewsWire, mostly I just hit the down arrow, read the headlines, and out of every 20 stories, I might read one. It used to be I'd read 10. But again, I was working till midnight to do 6 hours of work. But, I'd follow every story. It was really fun, but it was not efficient.
Yeah. Bob, how much of of the Working Smarter course focuses on the Mac, or do you branch off into the iPad and iPhone to any significant degree?
There's a bunch of iPhone stuff, if only because I talk about things like reminders and calendars and alerts. And so, part of the beauty of those is that they're synced with your iPhone. So there's a bunch of stuff about that. I interviewed a student today to get some social proof for upcoming marketing. And while I was talking to him, he said, you should really do a Working Smarter for iPhone users course. And I thought, that would be a great add-on for this. If you have an iPhone, there's about, a couple hours worth of really good stuff that I could show you. Some of which is in the Working Smarter course, but you might not take it if you're not a Mac user, but you have an iPhone. So I'm thinking about doing an iPhone like addendum or add-on course or upsell course, shorter, but I think that might be really useful. There is, I'd say, a significant amount of it in the class, but because I called it for Mac users, it focuses on the Mac. But really, it doesn't focus on any technology. A lot of it focuses on the concepts. I tell you the technology I'm using to do it, but for example, the concept of being alerted 30 minutes and 60 minutes before an event is the important part. It doesn't matter that you do it in Calendar or Fantastical or BusyCal or whatever you use on Windows. I teach it on Fantastical because that's what's on my computer. But I say Calendar would do this just fine. So would BusyCal. And so would about 10 other apps. The important part is that you set the alerts and that they show up on the device that's in your earshot when you need them. And so a lot of it is generic Mac advice. I mean, it's like calendar advice and browser advice and working advice, like timers. Part of what I do is tell people you should time 25 minutes and not be interrupted. And if you do that and you're interrupted, you have to start the timer over. There's 100,000 apps in the App Store to time it and to track your progress. And, you can be as involved as you want or as uninvolved. The guy that invented Pomodoro technique used a kitchen timer that looked like a tomato, which is why it's called Pomodoro. Because it's Italian for tomato.
I did not know that.
There's a picture of it in the course. It's like a tomato-shaped 60-minute timer. But the important thing isn't that you call it the Pomodoro technique or that you use 25 minutes as your benchmark. The important thing is that you set a timer and don't do anything else for 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Again, I don't tell you how to do it. I just suggest things and say, try this, try this, try this. Try this one, try this. And you're going to find a toolkit of Working Smarter tips that work for you. Not every tip works for every person. Some people refuse to take my advice when I say, you only type 14 words a minute. You could triple your productivity in a week if you would just drill. It's not fun, but if you sat down and learned to touch type, you quadruple your productivity right there with no other tips. But they resist, they still.
Well, come on, Bob. That's work. I mean, people don't want to work. They want to be productive. They don't want to work.
That's such a payoff if you're a terrible typist. I mean, just getting to the point where you don't have to look puts you way ahead of the game. And I see people who work on computers that don't touch type. How can that even be? How could you have not bothered to learn to at least touch type a little? So I send people to a free website called typingtest.com. It's free. First you can take the test and see how fast you type. And they've got a bunch of free tutorials. You can go there every day for a few weeks. And depending on how bad you type, double, triple, quadruple. They say they can double your typing speed. They couldn't double mine, but that's because I already typed 60 words a minute. 120 a minute you're getting into Jason territory.
Yeah.
I can't type like Jason Snell.
Yeah, I know. It's fun to watch somebody that types fast. I mean, fortunately I've had parents that had a lot of foresight, and it worked out well. And I learned to touch type in high school, and that has served me so well. That, and of course back then, I mean, nobody knew that the computer revolution was coming the way it was, and so it worked out super well for me.
But when you were in high school, they let boys take typing. When I was in high school, they wouldn't let us take typing or home economics.
Oh, well, it
was gender specific, outlawed. You could not.
Mine was not outlawed, but I think I was one of 2 males in the typing class.
I wanted to take typing, and I couldn't. I wanted to take home ec too, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to point out the one piece of advice there that you just gave. You're throwing a lot of tips and tricks and ideas at us, and I love the idea that you don't say this is the one true method. You throw a lot of them out.
Because there isn't one. That's what I've discovered, is there is no one true path.
No.
There's a million books that claim to be the one true path to productivity, and every one of them has something good, but as a whole, it doesn't work for me. And it's the same with apps. I can't tell you how many apps that purport to make you way more productive, and I end up spending more time tinkering with the app, trying to get it to reflect just what I want. And later I go, wow, I spent 3 hours rearranging my work. I got no work done, but boy, it's pretty. I can see it all at once now. And I spent a lot of time with apps that purport to, help you see it all and be more organized. And the only thing that I've found was that I wasted a lot of time organizing stuff, but not doing it. It didn't do anything about focus or, finding time. It looked beautiful, though. I have to-do lists. People say, oh, I have a to-do list. That's not a plan. A to-do list is a to-do list. Those are things to do eventually someday. All right. Some of them may be things you need to do today, but if you have my to-do list grew to about 13 pages before I realized it was futile. I'd pick the best thing off. I'd look at my list. I'd cherry pick something fun or somebody I felt like talking to. I'd complete the task and cross it off and go, yeah, I'm so cool. I just worked. And really, I wasn't accomplishing a lot. And the things that were important were buried like on page 7 and 9. And, I didn't even see them usually. So it occurred to me that I need to be more disciplined. I need to just have a plan every day and stick to it. And then I don't end up, wasting a boatload of time.
So at the risk of sounding like we're doing endorsements, because again, all those apps, I mean, they're all great if they fit you, if they fit your style. But what are you using right now for a to-do list?
I use reminders. I'll tell you why.
Just use reminders? Okay.
I tried all the other ones. I tried OmniFocus and Things and lots of other things that are like that. And you know what? Really, the things I need are for it to remind me of stuff at a certain time, right? And to store my to-do list for long term. But I don't look at them very often. It's like if I finish a project, I open up the long-term ideas bin and look at it, and maybe I'll move that into active. But for the most part, reminders can hold everything that isn't on my daily plan. So if it doesn't go on my calendar because it's a time appointment, it's a fixed time, and it doesn't go on my daily plan, it's in reminders somewhere. I have to do sooner, to do later, to do when I'm in the car, because I can leave location-based reminders like next time you're at Home Depot, buy a big hammer, or next time you're at the grocery store, buy milk. My phone and my Mac know where my grocery store is. So if I say remind me to get milk when I'm at H-E-B, when I drive by H-E-B, I get a ding that reminds me to get milk. So mine's simple. I mean, I use Fantastical because I like its natural language interface a lot better than Calendar. But you could do it with Calendar. It understands those things. Reminders understands those things. And that's at the core of my not forgetting stuff, is having reminders. I use them for any event that's on my calendar. There are at least 2, usually 3 reminders. An email the day before if it's an important thing, so I have time to, gear up for it. Then 2 hours before, and then 30 minutes before. I have ADD. If I don't put something into a reminder or into an event on a calendar, in about 45 seconds it's gone, and I won't be there. It's like if I don't get them recorded right away, I'm on to the next thing. And, 2 days later, I might go, oh, crap, did I ever put that doctor's appointment on my calendar? So I've learned to, one thing is, when I'm out and about and I have something like a doctor's appointment, it goes in my top pocket. When I get home, it gets entered in the calendar. And that's like when I get home, I put my wallet and my keys in a particular place so that I know where they are, and I transfer information to the calendar or reminders list. Soon as I walk in, nothing else first. I walk right to my desk and do that. Why? Because otherwise I'll put my wallet and my keys somewhere and never find them again. And I'll have paper that goes in the wash, and I'll never know what it was. So, it's a routine, and that's the thing. Once you make it a routine, a habit, you just do it. And so I hardly ever, I say I never forget stuff anymore, but I haven't missed an event I slept through a podcast not too long ago. Like, there was at 9 o'clock at night, and it's like I was on the couch watching TV, and I woke up at 3 a.m. and went, oh no! But other than that, I don't miss events. So if there's something I need to be at a certain time and place, I'm there. Mm-hmm. It didn't used to be that way. I was about 50-50. If you told me, my band's playing Friday at so-and-so, okay, I'm going. An hour later, it's gone. Yeah. If it's not on the calendar on Friday, I'm not going to remember that. So, also, I have something else for you.
Yeah.
There's a URL I just sent you in the chat, and that is win free tuition. I'm giving away 5 free tuitions. Now, I have a great deal for your listeners also. I have a coupon that they can use for the deepest discount I'm offering to anybody, but you could win one of 5 free tuitions. And so there's that. That'll be in the show notes, that URL. I'm running Chuck's show for him now.
Yeah, I'm
That'll
just
be in the show notes, and then after that, you've got a coupon code, right?
Right.
I've got a coupon code for you, and Chuck will have the coupon code and the URL in the show notes later.
Well, now, Bob, that's something I want to point out, because I was not going to put the coupon code in the show notes because you've given us.
It expires. Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah.
But, all right, so let's say it a few times, but it expires on April 1st. So you got 10 days? 10 days.
Okay.
11 days.
Okay, so you're going to have that. So yeah, I will get it out, folks, to if you're part of the MacVoices, or excuse me, if you subscribe to the MacVoices newsletter, it'll be in there. We'll put it up here in lower third so you can see it. If you're listening audio, Bob will tell you what it is now. But at the end of the day, we don't want it out there in public because this is a special code just for MacVoices people. So, Bob, that code is?
That code is MacVoices Rocks, all one word.
Which it does.
MacVoices Rocks.
So you go to the website, workingsmarterformacusers.com.
No. You're going to go to you want to go directly. Well, you could go there and click a link and get there to the course, but the course is actually at its own website. And I will send you that one also.
Okay.
As soon as I find it. Well, it's one more click if you send them home first. So I'll give you the direct link to this course.
Okay. That's good. So that's one less click, folks, that you have to make.
Right. Correct.
And then MacVoices rocks, and you've got the best discount you can possibly get on Bob's course. And of course, list price is
$4.99. The best deal that I'm offering the unwashed masses is half price, and this is 80% off. So you get it for $99.
So how are you going to beat that? So.
Next month it goes back up.
Yep. Check it out, because I think, and definitely sign up for Bob's newsletter. You've heard Bob here enough, I think, to realize that he has a lot of great ideas about this stuff. He's conquered productivity for himself. Let him help conquer it for you. Why not?
My motto, what's a motto? Nothing. What's the motto with you? Okay. No, my motto is, what do? I help Mac users do more work in less time so they have more time for things they love. I mean, I've been trying to boil down what I do into one sentence, and that's it. I help Mac users do more work in less time so they have more time to do things they love. And really, who doesn't want more time for things you like to do? I can show you how to spend less time doing that stuff that you do when you sit in front of your Mac. Whatever it is, I promise. I guarantee it, actually.
I know just with the newsletters, I haven't taken the course yet, but just with the newsletters, I know that I've gotten little tips. And to your point, maybe some of them I already knew, but it helps to have them
reminded.
Drilled back into your brain just a little bit. It's like, why wasn't I doing that? That was so good when I was doing it, and I went on vacation or something happened and got me out of the habit, and so I get back in the habit with your tips, and it's definitely helped already, no question.
Thank you. I talked to one of my students today, and he said, if you want to be more productive, take this course and you will be. Stop. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
That's my quote. That's the money shot.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I know. I love that.
Bob,
and he's 80 some years old.
Really?
He said, here's my quote. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. I said, no, I don't think that's not gonna fly. Got anything else for me?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward. I'm sure we'll be talking before Macstock, but if not, I'll definitely see you in July in Woodstock. We're going to have a great time. We hope everybody joins us. But before that, check out Bob's courses, check out the newsletter, check out the website, check out everything. Working Smarter for Mac Users. This is information that you both want and need. That fair, Bob?
Yes, and as I said, there's a contest going on until the end of the month. You could win one of 5 free scholarships to Working Smarter for Mac Users, the online course. Perfect. So I gave you that URL. You can put in the show notes and post anywhere you want. I'm testing out a contest. I mean, I'm the marketing director. I woke up one morning and had this bright idea to have a contest, and 3 hours later, I had a contest. I mean, you can buy anything on the internet. I just bought a contest thing.
There you go.
Software as a service, man.
Yeah, it is a kind of amazing what you can hack together in relatively short period of time.
I just did a pro forma of all the services it takes to run Working Smarter for Mac Users. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different web services that all link together somehow to create a website and online courses and email automation and lead capturing and all the stuff that you got to do.
Okay, that's the next. When you come back next time, that's going to be what we talk about, because that would be really interesting for people that want to do some of what you're doing. What services have you determined are really that useful and worth paying for? So. Oh
boy, it's funny. Dave Hamilton has a podcast about small business, and he wants me to come on and do this kind of stuff for him. Mm-hmm. But I'll be happy to do it with you too. It's been a real learning process. I am the solopreneur, so when it comes time to get a welcome mat, to capture leads on your web page, there's like 7 people you can go to, and they all look about the same on first look, and some of them work with the thing that you've already got, and some of them don't. That's the big thing, is you want to make sure that whatever you do works with whatever else you're doing, right? Because these things are all like independent. And then there's Zapier, which you can use to glue together parts that don't naturally glue together. Another $25 a month, but.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot. There's a lot to it. It's pretty deep, and I'm really very fascinated with email automation, where I can send an email and you can click yes or no and get a different email back based on your answer. Are you interested in this or this? And I can branch you off. If you went to a web page, I can not send you the next email, or if you didn't go to the web page, I can send you a different email. I can really do a lot of what I would want to do as a marketer if I were making these judgments one at a time as they were coming in. It's like, okay, that guy opened that email and clicked the link. What would I do next? Probably want to talk to him on the phone. So it's like I can assign people. I can rank them. Like everything they do can give them points so that I know who my most engaged students are. So if you open your newsletter, that's worth something. If you click a link in a newsletter, that's worth something. If you buy a course, that's worth a lot. If you buy the book, it's worth a lot. If you responded to an ad on Facebook, that's worth something. If you clicked yes in one of the emails, that's worth something. And then if you're really engaged, I offer you a free 20-minute consulting call. Coaching call. What's your big productivity suck, and let me see if I can give you some straight on advice to fix the one thing that's bugging you the most. But I love it because I manage it. It's like, if it's not working, well, it's my fault and I have to go adjust something. But I don't have like people.
Yeah.
I love that. I said that in my webinar. I said, you take some courses and you ask a question and it gets answered by some faceless minion. You don't have to worry about that with me because I don't have any faceless minion. I'm it. If the question's going to get answered, I'm answering it myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. We will definitely come back, and because that should be a completely separate show. But yeah, a look behind working smarter with Mac users, for Mac users.
Well, it's for really anybody that wants to do modern email-based marketing, automated email-based marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm learning a lot, and I've tried a lot of different stuff, and I've switched from this to this to this. So I think I'm pretty happy with the lineup today. I wish there was a one package, I wish I could just buy one package that did it all, because then it would all work together without all the painful wiring on the back end.
Yeah, but then it would be a lot like all the books out there. They're saying this is the one true path to productivity.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. Part of the beauty of this is you can mix and match lots of different components and still get a pretty comprehensive system that talks to each other, that everything knows what everything else is doing.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to only have to go to one. I mean, I've got 15 pinned tabs on my browser that are all back-end work related. It's kind of a mess. Yeah. It's spaghetti. It's what it is. Yeah. Everything is linked to everything else.
Yeah, but that's the way it is right now.
But it works.
It works. Well, we will see you again soon, I hope.
I hope for sure. Actually, you will, because I will have something interesting to announce, hopefully before Macstock.
Oh, great. Okay.
I've hinted at this. You know what I'm talking about.
I might.
But yes. I will say this. Save the date. January 26th, 2019. Save the date. That's all.
Sounds good.
Oh, I got a new toy.
Oh, what'd you get?
It's a boom that stays where I put it.
Ah, okay. Yes,
you saw this.
Yeah, it's one of the blue.
It's the blue. I forget what they call it, but as soon as I saw it, I ordered one. Yeah. And it was like the first day they mailed it to me. I said, "Oh boy, that looks perfect," and it is. It's just great. It's solid as a rock. You move it into place, and there it is.
Oh. I saw it in Vegas at CES and was very impressed.
I drilled a hole in my desk for it.
Yeah.
Permanent hole. When I'm not using it, I just turn it away. I've bought like 4 of those now. And I have mic stands, real mic stands, like band mic stands for music. And nothing is really appropriate for sitting at a desk and talking at the right distance, at the right angle, putting a mic just so and having it stay there. I have 2 of those scissor things that, have springs on them.
Yep.
They just won't stay put. My mic's way too much. This thing is just awesome. I mean, they got it. They figured out what the problems were, and all the pain points are fixed.
Yeah, Blue does great work.
It's worth $100.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you spend any time in front of a mic, there's no question you've got to have a good boom arm. You got to have a good mic. You got to have a good boom arm. It definitely will make your life easier. I mean, mine's usually way down here off camera, but yeah.
I've been struggling with the mic stands, and then I put the scissors thing that didn't work on my desk, and it was just always a struggle and always too noisy. This thing's silent. Look, I'm not using this mic, so you're not going to hear mic noise.
Right.
I'm actually using this mic that's on me.
Yeah.
But look, I'm turning it. It's like silent.
Nothing. Yeah.
And even when I, change the angles, silent.
Yeah.
Really like it.
All right, good. Product endorsement right at the end. Bob, well, when you're ready to talk about the save the date thing, let us know. And otherwise, we'll get with you again and we'll talk.
You'll be the 7th to know.
Okay.
There are 6 others that will know before you.
Okay.
Maybe that's it too.
All right, that's it. We're not going to give any more hints. Bob, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Not
Okay, well, yeah.
No, I'm done. It's great to see you, Chuck. Thanks again for having me on. Everybody out there, I can help you work smarter and do more work in less time so you have more time for the things you love, guaranteed.
Believe it. Folks, I'm Chuck.
You can trust me. I play a doctor on TV.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I'm going to go take the course. I'm already reading Bob's newsletter. Now I'm going to go take the course and find out. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.